let's talk about the Temple of Solomon. Hi, I'm Alicia. If you don't know me, I'm new to TikTok, but I'm here to share some stuff that I've learned over the last few years, and I feel like it's probably good timing with all the stuff that's being circulated at the moment with Billy Carson and all of that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you'll probably be interested in what I've got to say. Anyway, so I started looking at the Temple of Solomon about 10 years ago. It was actually a seed that was sort of planted by a friend of mine who was talking about Solomon's Temple at the time, and I didn't really know much about it, but he said that, obviously they'd never really found Solomon's Temple, or it had been destroyed, or there was a lot of different theories about it, and that they weren't really sure about, the whole idea of Solomon's Temple even existing and all these things. Anyway, so he kind of planted this seed in my head, and I was just kind of getting on with my daily life, and I came across a video on YouTube that from someone I was subscribed to, that had just been released, and it was a documentary about Luxor Temple and the Temple of Man, and Scwaller DeLubicz's interpretation of the Luxor Temple. And I started watching the documentary, and as soon as I looked at this temple, and well, once I'd sort of gone through the documentary and really kind of seen what they were talking about, I realized that was Solomon's Temple. And I just obviously had a big interest in Egypt. I was following a lot of that kind of stuff at the time. I'd been learning about astrotheology, and had been, following a lot of different gurus online and things, just, listening to conversations and things like that. But it was definitely something that's, sparked my interest at the time. Anyway, so the point of the story is I went to my friend and I said to him, oh my God, I think I found Solomon's Temple. And, check this out. I said, this is a temple, obviously in Egypt, that is laid out on the ground in the shape of a man. That's the Solomon's Temple. And I said, that's it. It's got to be it, right? Like, because I don't know, something in me, quite often when people challenge me with things or give me these things, I'm kind of the kind of person who will just go and find that thing for them. Like, yeah, okay, let me just go get that for you, And this is literally what I was doing. I was delivering him Solomon's Temple after he'd told me all this stuff about it. And he just looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, no, and slammed my laptop closed. Called me a simpleton. And I was like, really? You don't want to look at this? Because I was adamant, that was it. That was Solomon's Temple, 100%. And look, even I could not, I couldn't find anyone online or anybody who was saying the same thing as what I was thinking. And I could not get any confirmation at all. But, I hadn't forgotten, and it was something that I just stored away in my brain and kept moving forward. I absolutely love that documentary. As I said, that is magical Egypt. The Temple in Man, I think it's the second episode of the first series, with John Anthony West in it, and it has become one of my absolute all-time favourite documentaries, not just because I think it's Solomon's Temple, but because the actual documentary holds a lot of really valuable information that has led me down a whole lot of different paths, and I love it. Absolutely freaking food for the soul. Anyway, so I, moving on. I had sort of put it in the background and whatever, and it kept sort of coming up for me, and I kept still kind of looking for, evidence and things, and I did actually come across something in 2022, and that was a book about King David and the Temple of Solomon by Osman. And I read the back of the book, and it was talking about Thutmose III being the father of Amenhotep III, who built Luxor temple. But it also was confirming that he in fact was King Solomon from the Bible, which was like, this is what I had been saying for 10 years, that this was what I've been looking for. And so, of course, I bought the book and I read the book. And it was just it wasn't actually like a story or anything. It was just all the information that points to the Bible stories being Amenhotep III, who was a great ruler and ruled over the land between the Nile and Euphrates for 40 years. Okay, and his story is quite fascinating, really. Like, I've gone kind of down the rabbit hole with this stuff, and I love it, absolutely love it. It's food for my soul. But it turns out that Ahmed Osman had the same theory as me, that Ahmed Osman was absolutely 100% confirming that was in fact Solomon's temple. But in Ahmed Osman's book, he believes that Solomon's temple was his funerary temple, which was where there's only 2 statues left at the front of the funerary temple. Apparently it's been destroyed. They believe that was Solomon's temple. But I'm 100% saying, well, no, if you actually look at the Temple of Luxor, then you'll find the real Solomon's temple, because it's laid out in the shape of a man. It's all the text and everything in that temple is actually talking about the human body, the reproductive systems. It's talking about, and actually another fascinating fact is it has the last part of the temple, which would represent the legs or the feet, or sorry, the knee down, is the left foot stepping forward, which is obviously, we see that depicted in the statues in Egypt, and even in the first hall there's statues with the pharaoh standing with the left foot forward. And so the whole temple, the actual temple itself, is on an angle that matches that left foot forward. So, but there's also a lot of other stuff encoded into it too. And apparently, look, Scwaller DeLubicz actually did all the decoding on this. He wrote a book back in the 1920s all about it, and it's quite in-depth about the measurements of each room and how it relates to the human body. And the most fascinating thing that I actually found, which just to me is mind-blowing, is the pineal gland, that actually put a clear quartz crystal block into the wall where the pineal gland is supposed to be in the human body. And not only that, they etched on one side an image, and they etched on the other side an image, and it's not until those 2 images are put together that you get the full image. I mean, this stuff to me is crazy. How, wow, that's amazing. That is alone, that one thing there is like, and there are so many other things. So many other things have come out of this. This temple is amazing. And I think, it's a lot of people just kind of walk through, oh yeah, it's a great temple. Look at this, how big. They have no idea. A lot of people just don't really get it. I mean, they haven't encoded this, and it's a really interesting thing to look at. I want to make another series of videos. So if you're interested in this stuff, please come back to my page and I'll tell you some more.